Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. And it's just someone who I don't live over there. I got ocean privilege, thank God, right? Has Putin ever claimed that he's going to take over Europe? Has he ever said he wants to?
Well, you'll remember, Brian, he denied the week before invading Ukraine that he was going to invade Ukraine. So I would put it to you that he is not a man whose word can be taken ever.
Have you ever watched an interview where someone tries so hard to defend their position that they end up making the opposing argument look even stronger? Well, that's exactly what you're about to see. Sometimes a conversation doesn't need dramatic editing or endless commentary because the exchange speaks for itself. Every answer, every awkward pause, and every attempt to justify the unjustifiable tells a story that no narrator could improve. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is one of those rare occasions where I don't think I need to interrupt every few seconds with my own analysis. The discussion you're about to watch is revealing enough on its own. In fact, the arguments being made are so difficult to defend that they almost become a form of commentary without me saying a word. As the conversation unfolds, pay close attention to the reasoning, the consistency, and how each question is answered. Notice what happens when straightforward questions meet explanations that seem to create more confusion than clarity. It's one of those interviews where the more someone tries to explain themselves, the more viewers are left scratching their heads. So rather than stopping every minute to break things down, I'm going to let the exchange play out naturally. Then, once we've reached the end, we'll go through the biggest moments together, separate the strong arguments from the weak ones, and talk about what this interview really says about the wider political conversation. With that said, let's get straight into the clip and see how this entire exchange unfolds.
Let's go back to February, that question you decided to ask Volodymyr Zelensky about his suit. Why was that what you decided to push him on?
Well, you know, there had always been so much speculation amongst Americans that why doesn't, Zelensky ever put on proper attire when he's visiting, world leaders? And so that was a question that had actually been circulating for a while, so that when he showed up to the Oval Office back in February and wasn't wearing a suit, I thought it was rather appropriate to ask that question. Now, that question was not meant to insult Ukrainians. It was not meant to diminish the value of what's going on in the war. It was simply calling out maybe what we perceived as a lack of self-respect for the presidency, for the Oval Office, and for really $380+ billion that American taxpayers have been contributing towards this fight
What was
against
disrespectful
Russia.
about it?
Well, this is the highest office in the world. I think you and I can both agree. There's no other higher figure than President Trump as well on a global stage. And it's just that's the attire when you go to the White House. That's what President Trump
It's not if you're Elon Musk and you turn up in a T-shirt and a baseball cap. No one had a problem then. You didn't grill Elon Musk about it.
Well, here's the biggest difference about that. Elon Musk was saving American taxpayers billions of dollars in his Doge, and we were given, it's a big difference. Elon Musk is saving tax dollars.
That's not the point you were making. The point you were making is it's disrespectful to go into the Oval Office not being suitably dressed. I mean, there is a photo of Elon Musk in a T-shirt and a ridiculous hat clowning around in the Oval Office.
Yeah, your question I've heard a dozen times, and I'm going to answer it just like I'm answering it now. Elon Musk is saving American taxpayers money. We are giving Ukraine hundreds of billions of dollars. There is a big difference.
So it's not really then about what you wear in the Oval Office. It's about the history. It's about Zelensky.
I tell you what, why don't you try it? You come to the Oval Office and we'll see what happens if you show up in a T-shirt.
But why is it, Elon, why is it okay? If the point is, isn't it? If
you're missing the point here.
No, I'm not missing the point.
American taxpayers are giving Ukraine. If someone provides you with billions of dollars, wouldn't you want to somewhat show appreciation? You show up in a proper
in the same
attire?
way as if I was a businessman and the president had appointed me to a very, very senior, powerful position, I would wear a suit to work. Yes, Elon Musk didn't. I think that's disrespectful, isn't it?
Well, I don't see it that way, nor do the American people. So I would just say it that.
What did you make?
The American people, look, the only people saying that are people who hate President Trump to begin with. Anybody in the MAGA base sees what Elon Musk did for the American people, saving waste, fraud, and abuse. They like what he did. They don't care if he shows up in a bathing suit. But when you're giving another country, billions of dollars, there is a level of appreciation, and is a suit too much to put on? But I will say this, Ben, yesterday was a complete 180.
Go on.
From that Oval Office. I mean, I told myself, Ben, if he was to come in wearing a suit, the first thing I was going to do was congratulate him. I said he looked fantastic. He looks great. I apologized. See, you like that? I apologized to him. And then he threw a little zinger back at me, which
what did you make of that? Because
I loved it. I actually loved it.
He pointed out that he changed his suit and you were wearing the same one. Was it the same suit, Mr. Glenn?
No, technically it wasn't the same suit. It was
so he was wrong. Okay.
Well, you know, I think it was a funny joke. I took it really well, Ben. I really did. I think it loosened up that moment in the Oval Office. And you know what? From that point on, I remember making eye contact with President Zelensky multiple times, and it was kind of like a gentleman's nod, kind of like, okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. It was just a fun moment.
You think he's forgiven you?
I think he has. I think he has.
I mean, I come back to the point slightly, Mr. Glenn. Journalists around the world would kill, frankly, like me, to be able to ask questions to two of the most consequential men in the world right now. We've got a war that's left hundreds of thousands dead. We've got massive geopolitical consequences and fallout and so on. Was there really nothing more significant to ask about than his sartorial choices?
Well, that's my question for him. Now, my question for President Trump was he wants to go down as a peacemaker. This was the other question that really didn't get covered on that press conference. I said, you want to go down as a peacemaker. How big is this right now to settle this conflict between Russia and Ukraine? I want peace more than anyone. I tell you what, my question yesterday.
Well, I don't think you want peace more than most of the Ukrainian people, respectfully.
Well,
because it's their sons and brothers and fathers that are being put on the front line. So I think
I agree.
They want peace.
Well, I will say this, Ben, out of full transparency, if you walk the streets of America and you ask 100 people, give me the top 5 concerns in your life right now, Ben, I can promise you, out of those 100 people, no one is saying, I want peace between Russia and Ukraine.
Same in Britain, I'm sure.
In all due respect. Exactly. So, but personally, do I want to see kids die in Ukraine and Russia? Of course not.
Sure.
Neither do you. Neither do you.
No, but you also don't want to see Vladimir Putin emboldened and go waltzing into Moldova or Finland.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. And it's someone who I don't live over there. I got ocean privilege, thank God, right? Has Putin ever claimed that he's going to take over Europe? Has he ever said he wants to?
Well, you'll remember, Brian, he denied the week before invading Ukraine that he was going to invade Ukraine. So I would put it to you that he is not a man whose word can be taken ever.
So after watching that entire exchange, I think it explains why this interview has generated so much discussion online. For me, it wasn't just about one question or one awkward moment. It was about what happens when a simple challenge exposes an inconsistent argument. The biggest turning point came when the conversation shifted to Elon Musk. The claim was that dressing casually in the Oval Office was disrespectful, but as soon as a clear counterexample was raised, the explanation suddenly changed. Instead of defending the original principle, the argument became about who was wearing the clothes, rather than whether the standard was supposed to apply equally. That's exactly where the reasoning began to fall apart. What also stood out was the attempt to create a gotcha moment near the end. Rather than putting the interviewer on the defensive, it opened the door for another straightforward response that quickly exposed the weakness of the point being made. Sometimes the most effective journalism isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about asking calm, consistent questions and letting the contradictions reveal themselves. Whether you agree with Ben Kentish or not, one thing is hard to ignore. Consistency matters. If a rule is presented as a principle, it has to apply across the board. Once exceptions start appearing depending on who's involved, people are naturally going to question whether it was ever really about the principle in the first place. But that's just my perspective. I'd love to hear yours. Who do you think made the stronger case in this exchange? Did Ben Kentish expose major inconsistencies, or do you think the White House reporter defended his position convincingly? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more political commentary, and I'll see you in the next video.